So I'm about to go to sleep, but before I go to sleep, I wanted to leave a little message for you. I was thinking about all the questions that I get asked as a dating coach, a thought leader, a matchmaker, a spiritual guide, and a good friend. I am Jacqueline, founder creator of Discover Love Matches, and I have been supporting singles and people that are in relationships and people looking for richer and more fulfilling lives for quite some time. For those of you that know a little bit of my story, is I'm spiritually gifted, so people hire me for angel sessions on top of regular dating and relationship coaching. So tonight, as I was getting sleepy, you can tell, no makeup, it's been a day. And I was just about to call it and crash. And all of a sudden I thought, I want to share with you what kinds of things people ask me about. It's been a busy week, and I'm recording this on a Tuesday, and I was like, oh, I have to remind myself. It has only gotten to Tuesday. There's been so much, but there was a lot over the weekend, and so I thought it would be fun as part of my Confessions of a Matchmaker series. I would tell you some real things that are happening, like real time stuff. Throughout the last handful of days, I've had a variety of situations. One was matching a client, matched two great people, did an introduction date, and the guy got so nervous. He was trying to be too casual, too comfortable in the process. And so he didn't really pay attention during some of the things that they shared during their 10-minute breakout room date portion. So when they came back on the screen, he forgot a couple of the details and just kind of got that nervous blankness. You know, when your mind just kind of all of a sudden you're like, I have no idea what I was just saying. Well, she wasn't impressed with that. Even though they have all these great qualities, they had a vibe because he forgot one thing that she shared. Very specifically, one thing, she decided she is not interested in going out and getting to know him better. And I thought about how many people don't realize that they're on such a thin chopping block with certain people, and that no matter what you do, it can never be enough. You can never be perfect enough to create exactly what that person wants. They're always going to find a little excuse. I had a gentleman recently say he wanted to hire me for my matchmaking. And so we did his appointment just a few days ago. And he was so excited. I started working on my list of people. And then we were figuring out what was best package for him. Well, he comes back to me and says, I'd like this little teeny package. He wants to pay a fraction of what everybody else pays. And he also wants to pay me a bonus if I pick somebody for him that he ends up living with within a year. And I thought, okay, I do know that some high level matchmakers do this. I personally would never put something like that in a contract. I would never, ever put a deadline on when you're going to cohabitate. If you're going to cohabitate, I can't guarantee that somebody's going to want to live with you. I mean, let's take this to another degree. And it was just like so befuddling to me that somebody actually was like thinking that that would be the bait that would get me to let them pay me significantly less, because I might one day hunt them down and say, hey, remember that girl that I introduced you to? Are you living with her? Do I know if you are? Do I need to come to your house? Do I need to check? Like, no, that just sounds so bizarre. I do my job. I introduce wonderful people, but they're adults. They need to work on their own time frame. So the fact that this person wanted to put it into a contract and wanted to only have a very minimal amount of people for me to match them with over a very long time frame. Mind you, I only do a 90 days at a time matchmaking, but I thought it was so fascinating that he felt he didn't need to pay like everybody else, that he needed to do it his own way, which independence is great. But I want you to know I will never put a contractual agreement that you have to move in or live with one of my clients within a certain time frame. So that one kind of threw me a little bit. I support other matchmakers that do this, but no, I like to let people live their lives independently. I also had a situation where a friend of mine was dealing with a new boyfriend that was out of town, and he didn't like that she was out being social while he was gone. And he was getting very dramatic and very dramatic, like not even kind of dramatic, like we're talking whoosh off the list because she decided to stay at the party longer and he was far away. And he was like, I thought you were going to stick to your words. You were going to go home when you were done with the project you were doing at the party, la, 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 la. And I'm reading these text messages and I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. You're not even here to entertain or spend time with her. She's out with her friends, friends she really likes, friends she hasn't hung out with. But because you're not there to control the situation, you decide to blow up her phone the whole time. So she is then asking me to type the text for her and put in the information to calm him down, but also validate him, but also to take a stance. And it was very interesting because I was like, the text, my comment and response was in her voice, was to say, I understand that you want me to go home and be done, but I am having a good time. I'm doing nothing inappropriate. I am having a wonderful time with my friends, and I'm going to stay here. And we can discuss this when you're not out of town. We're not going to do this over text. And she just had to keep coming back to that. There was no reasoning, there was no rationing. And even though he was having a meltdown, that was his problem. And I was so proud of her because she knew that that was his issue. She knew that was his problem. She wasn't trying to disrespect it, but she also wasn't going to give up on an opportunity to hang out with her friends that she had been really wanting to hang out with. It just happened that the cool party that was going on went longer and he wasn't here. And that was his choice to do what he wanted to do. So it's so interesting how a lot of times I have to kind of step in and rebalance people because we teach people how to treat ourselves and how to treat others. So she had to put some boundaries up. And then he, of course, then was like, oh, well, I'm going to be doing some things, hanging out with my ex, but it's all cool. I can do that, but you're not allowed to hang out with your friends. And it was this amazing energy of disassociation of why this wasn't fair to each person. So, of course, as a friend, I was helping. As an expert, I was like, this is not acceptable. This is what's wrong in dating when the other person thinks they can dictate what you do when they're not around and they're doing their own form of entertainment. And you are going to just sit at home because they happen to be gone. No, I don't think so. What do you think about that? I also just had an angel session today with a beautiful longtime client of mine, just an amazing, magnificent woman. And as we're having her session, the angels, as you know, I have these wonderful gifts to share information with people. The information that I got was so much about she needs to follow her career dreams and entrepreneurship that will allow her to be in her best essence for her to attract the right relationship. Now, mind you, this is the same client that I think I did a video about this. I'm not positive, but I think I did. Last summer, my angels kept bugging me about this lady and kept saying I needed to tell her that she needed to break up with the person she was with. Now, this is actually crazy because her and I hadn't talked about the current relationship she was in. I didn't really know anything beyond social media. Her and I hadn't really overlapped much more than a little message here and there. What was fascinating to me was that my angels would not stop bugging me until I told her that they wanted her to end this relationship. Like they couldn't get her to listen, so they had to detour to me because they knew if they harassed me enough, I could get to her. Because once somebody is a longtime client, there are times that the information comes to me without the request of my client, and then I have to find out from them if they're ready to hear the information or not. So here she is about 10 months later coming back to me to say, okay, I'm ready for more. What else do you got? So then she had a formal session that brought in how she has not been living in her truth for her career, what she wants. So this is why her financial life keeps going up and down because she isn't speaking her full voice and letting people get her authentic message. She's doing stuff to appease too many other people. So have you ever found yourself that way when you're like, I can't seem to attract the wealth that I want, but yet at the same time, you're not really living in your full truth? I know I'm guilty of it. I know that as much as I love being a matchmaker, I also know that my advice allows me to reach a bigger audience. So the more chances I can give advice, I know I can support people even if they can't hire me as their matchmaker. So, of those little comments, which one stands out the most to you that's relatable, or somebody that you've had a story of your own, or advice that you would give it? Now, the tricky part is I work with so many different people and so many different scenarios. And the last really big piece that I want to share is there was a friend of mine that was visiting, and they had a lot of people to see when they were in town, lots of things going on. And what I found at the end was it's got to be so difficult to give each person their individual attention with you, the priorities, the focus, the time, but also who do you say goodbye to last? Who do you say goodbye to first? Who do you give the more sincere goodbye to when everybody's pretty much at the same level of connection to you and all of that? So that was a tricky one to witness. And then for myself to step back and process like, okay, this person got more time with him and this person got less time. How do you find that balance? And as the one giving the advice right now, I feel like so much of this is about really listening to your inner heart, but also taking the time to really prioritize what matters. It's easy to make time for new people, new experiences, new opportunities, intimacy, or friendship. But the reality is, always go back to your core essence of people. Like when I go back to the States, I like to make sure I reach out to my friends of longevity before I make time for new people. I also, though, when there is a window in my time, I tend to reach out to people that I might have missed on a couple of visits and circled back because I think it's so important to let people know they're still on your mind, you're still thinking about them, and you still want to keep that connection. Now, the tricky part is how you find what gives you energy and what the other people need. Because, I gave up people pleasing last year, but it still can be a challenge. So, oh, I got a bonus one for you. So last Friday night, we had a friend back in town after they'd been traveling for 6 months. Got together with a friend that was just visiting. And then there were the girls of us that like to hang out all the time with it. But then there was a fourth gal who joined in, who had met everybody back in September, had hung out with the other girls a little bit. I didn't really know her. So we're all at this table having a lovely meal and enjoying. But I myself am getting not a good vibe about this extra chick on the side. And I was turned into kind of me being not so friendly. I didn't actually want to stay. They continued to the next place. I didn't want to stay because I didn't like her energy. And that was tricky because I know they were disappointed. They kept telling me how much they missed me. They wish I had stayed. But I had to listen to my inner truth. This is what I would tell my clients. If you're in a situation and there's a group of people and there's one that bothers you, instead of you tolerating that person and sticking around, sometimes you just have to leave. You have to walk away from the situation and then decide if maybe the next time you want to hang out or not. I personally have no interest having this person in the social circle of things that we do. And that's not a mean thing to her. It's just we don't vibe. We do not vibe in the combination of people. And so I have to make the choices of who do I enjoy spending the most time with? Who do I light up with? And I have to say, if I don't light up with one person in the equation, it's kind of like, you know, the whole, as they say, don't pee in the pool. The pee is still in the pool, even at the other end. You might have pee to one end, but the other end is going to get affected. So that's where I'm coming from when I think about things like this. Let's just protect ourselves. If there are people that we don't want to have in our space, then we need to walk away. We need to be okay with that and not have to explain it. We also need to bless them to want to enjoy time with the people that they enjoy time with. So, all right, these was a whole lot of confessions of the matchmaker. I had a bunch of things on my mind I just had to dump onto you. I hope that you get a little giggle out of it. You might have gotten some advice. And you know what? That's only 4 or 5 days of my life as a matchmaker and dating expert. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Wait till I have my next video of more things to tell you about what happens for me. Oh, next we'll be talking. Oh yeah, no, I won't go there. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Let's keep this conversation going. If you get a chance to subscribe and like and comment, it really, really helps me too. I keep forgetting to ask for that big favor, but I noticed that over 80% of you are not subscribing, but you are enjoying the videos. So if you are not one of those subscriber people, if you get a chance to subscribe, it'll make me really happy and it'll motivate me to do a few more videos. And I have way more juicy details I'm going to be doing at different increments of our subscription enrollments going up. All right. Thanks for being you.